Okay, Ron, so we have baby water turtles. If I want to buy a water turtle, what are the things that we need to create the perfect habitat?
Baby water turtles are a very enjoyable pet. They have personality, and people really have a good time with them, especially children. The first thing we would need is a fair-sized aquarium, like a 20-gallon. We use a 20-gallon long here because it has more horizontal as opposed to a shorter tank that's higher. We wouldn't want that. We want to utilize the horizontal space. Once we have the water in, and the water depth is very important, if we're using an internal filter or a turtle filter, we want the water about that high, maybe 1.5 inches above the filter, or it'll be sucking in air along with the water. And the filter should always be on one end. Let's place the filter right in there and begin with that.
Okay. What do I need to know about?
All the way on this end. We'll use the suction cups that come with it.
Okay.
You can hear the air coming out, and that's good. We want the air out, and then the filter will work properly. Let's put a background on now. That'll offer more security for our baby turtles. It's always good to start with a baby turtle.
This is a nice, looks like a pond scene. What's the benefit of the background for the turtles?
It provides security. They don't feel like they're on display in all glass. They feel like perhaps they really are out in the woods or out in the jungle or out in the pond or lake. So this is a good thing to start with. The next thing we want to do is to put a plastic plant or several plastic plants.
Okay.
You can either hang one with a suction cup on the back, or you can just go ahead and float these.
Why not real plants?
Real plants tend to die unless they have an extremely high light level and they contaminate the tank. Get plastic that's really solid. This imitates the African water lettuce, which is prevalent all over the world. It's also a good food for turtles, but not the plastic, of course. But they'll feel right at home when they see these plants floating around.
Those are very inexpensive, too. I see them in all the pet stores.
I think the next thing that we're going to do is set up a place for the turtle to come out of the water. If the turtle stays in the water all the time, he's going to get sick. When we see them in the wild, they're up on a rock or on a log, warming themselves in the morning or early afternoon. And you notice their arms and legs are outstretched. They have special glands where they make vitamin D3. So this is going to help us to provide the place for them to come out and get their vitamin D3.
And is a certain type of rock better than others?
Yes, the part they climb on, we'd like to use a piece of slate because it's much harder.
Okay.
Now notice we left plenty of room for the baby turtles to swim around without getting trapped. There's also a big space under here where they can swim through without being trapped. And we did not put this rock all the way on the end where it could accidentally slip off. We made it nice and solid, gave them plenty of room to come out of the water, and gave them all their safety space. And this will also help the water current to go around, and it's going to make things work out very well for the baby turtle.
So although they're water turtles, they still need to get out of the water to warm themselves.
Yes, that's very important. They sleep underwater at night, and they just lift their head up to breathe. Baby turtles, as well as most turtles, like to live in the shallows of a canal or a pond or a stream or a river or a lake. And that's where they do most of their feeding.
Is tap water fine for baby turtles?
Tap water can be used, but you have to buy a product at your pet store or your aquarium store that neutralizes or binds chlorine and chloramines and ammonia. This is helpful. It's very, very simple to put it in the water, mix it around, and then you add it to the water, and the water is taken care of immediately. There's one other way the turtles can also come out of the water. Well, I'm not going to put it in now because it would be too crowded. But if you choose not to use the rocks, you can buy a piece of cork. It's very highly floatable. This is cork from Portugal, from the cork tree. You can buy it at a garden center or at some pet shops. The turtles love it. It's got striations all through it. It's got character that makes them busy walking because of the different shapes on it. And also, it's easy for them to get their little toenails in so they can climb. And this will gently float around, and they will climb on it and have a good time.
What's that other one over there?
This is a raft. And this is interesting because we can suction cup this onto the side, and if your water level gets a little higher or a little lower, the raft floats. It's highly floatable. And it goes up and down, and the turtles enjoy it. It's easily washable, and notice it's got a rough surface, so they have to lift their body and use their muscles. Exercise is very important for a little turtle. They need to be able to swim. They need to be able to interact with one another. Now the next thing we would talk about is temperature. You can monitor the air temperature with one of these fish thermometers. It can easily hang on the side, and you'd want to keep the air temperature in the 80s during the day, but no lower than 60 degrees at night. Remember, we're going to shut the light off at night. Now if the temperature is going to go below 60 degrees at night, you can buy an underwater turtle or aquarium heater. Suction cups, and the tube with the element, the heating element. This goes completely underwater, including this part of the wire, and you suction cup it. Try to put it on an end where the turtles aren't busy, so they won't be climbing on it. But put this underwater, and then you set your thermostat according to the instructions on the package, and you can warm your water up. The water would be real nice and very efficiently usable if it was in the 70 to 77 degree range. We don't want to go too much lower. We don't want to go too much higher. The air temperature, low 80s to mid 80s would be fine. Probably low 80s are better. And you can monitor it under the incandescent light or on the cool end. It should be in the 80s here and low 80s or less on the cool end. Well, I think the next thing to do is perhaps we'll add the turtles to the water.
Put a couple in there?
Yeah, so we can even put all of them, and then you'll see how some of them will want to get up on the log, some will want to swim. They have a wonderful time. And then that's going to leave one more element that we have to add.
And what is that?
That's going to be the lighting. It's very important. Turtles do not function unless they're in bright light. This is the neodymium bulb. It gives off ultraviolet A. It also gives off heat and light, and it's very important to the turtles. This has a clamp on it, and you can get this at almost any pet store. And the best way to do it is to put it here, aim it towards the rock, and you need to use the appropriate size bulb. You wouldn't want to put a 250 watt bulb, perhaps 60 watt, maybe even 75 or 100. It all depends on the temperature of the air in your room.
What's this one?
Now this is an alternate bulb. This is called a spotlight. It concentrates into a narrow beam the light, the ultraviolet rays, and the heat. Some people like to use that and aim it at the top of the rock. It keeps warmth on the rock. It also helps to warm up the water. So you may need a combination of things to get the proper air temperature and the proper water temperature. You need to experiment a little bit according to the temperature of the weather in your area.
Do we need a fluorescent bulb or a top with a baby turtle?
Yes, it's a good idea. Let's go ahead and put that top on.
Okay.
You can still use the top with the clamp. You can move it over, or you can add something to the side of the tank, clamp the lamp on, and still shine it down. But for practical purposes, let's put this on this end like that so they can utilize it over their rock. Then we're going to put a fluorescent fixture on this end.
What's the benefit of the fluorescent fixture?
The fluorescent tube gives off ultraviolet A and B. The ultraviolet B rays are critical. They interact with the outer layer of skin on the arms and legs. This is why you see turtles in the pond on a rock or on a log or a piece of something with the arms and legs outstretched. They're actually manufacturing vitamin D3 in the little capillaries, the tiny blood vessels in the surface of their skin. When the vitamin D3 ends up in the stomach, this is what controls the uptake of the 2 parts calcium, 1 part phosphorus molecule. So this is critical. In the southern climates, we put them right out in the sun 10 minutes at a time, but never let sun pass through glass, either through a window or an aquarium. We're going to talk about food.
Let's bring the food right up and put it right here on the screen.
This food is very helpful. It also has vitamin D3.
This looks like a little food stick.
Yes, that's the most popular shape that people use, and that's little food balls, and those are also very good. It doesn't matter so much about the size of the pellet because it softens up quickly and the turtle gets his exercise breaking the pellet down. Now, one thing you're going to notice, as they're chewing all the commercial prepared foods, and that's what these are, they have all the vitamins and nutrients. They're very good for the turtle, but to put the vitamin D3 into the pellet, they use fish oil. And they dehydrate it, dry it out, and put it into the pellet. But when it's in the water and the turtle chews, you see a rainbow of colors coming out in the water. This is fish oil. It'll thin out to a very, very tiny thinness and spread all over the tank, the filter, the gravel, and basically it slimes everything up. So what we recommend, it's a good food, very good. But have a little plastic container or perhaps this glass bowl here that we keep our turtles in. Put enough water to cover the turtle's shell, feed them in there, and then it's so simple to put the turtle back in and the filter can keep up with it. But if you keep feeding them in here, you're going to get this sudsy, bubbly oil, and then you're going to be wondering about that, and then you'll find out the right way. So please don't put the pellets in here. It'll save you a lot of work.
Good advice. What's the little green stuff over there?
This is a natural food.
I'll hold it.
It occurs all the way from New England down to Florida and west over to East Texas. This is a good part of their diet out in the wild. It's called duckweed. The ducks eat it, a lot of the fish eat it, the turtles eat it. It's a natural food and it replaces itself rapidly. If you buy this at your local store, it's going to be very helpful to your turtle's digestion. Your turtle has microscopic hairs in his intestine called cilia, and this helps keep all of that clean. And when it's floating in the water, if you bend down and look, you see little rootlets straight down pulling minerals out of the water. So it's very, very helpful for the turtle. Whenever you can, try and use it. And again, do it in your side container because it could be sucked into the filter and slow down the efficiency of your filter. So between the pellets and the duckweed, they're getting their total diet and they'll thrive.
And to recap, Ron, what are the highlights of setting up a nice habitat for a baby water turtle?
First of all, make sure you have enough room. The turtle needs exercise, needs to very easily be able to get up on his rock or on his raft or on his floating piece of Portuguese cork. Make sure you have plenty of room. Plants are helpful, background is very helpful. Monitor your water temperature, monitor your air temperature. The water temperature is not critical, but we'd like to keep it in the 70s if possible, and the air temperature 70s on the cool end and 80s on the warm end. And a fluorescent tube will be helpful. It doesn't imitate the sun completely, but it's very helpful. Also, the food that we feed them. Put some roughage in the diet. If duckweed's not available or you can't gather it at a clean pond, then the next best thing would be pinches of romaine lettuce, and that would be helpful.